welcome to yet another edition of Time Pass with the wonderful, the legendary Shabana Azmi for the New Indian Express. I'm so privileged to have her with me. She's what, five-time National Award winner, former Rajya Sabha member, actor, activist, a person who actually enabled women in India, especially in the industry, to understand the power of their stardom and to actually translate it into activism much before all these social media created these armchair activists. She actually has gone out there, fought on the streets for people's rights. It's a real privilege to have her with me, and also about to turn 70. It's hard to believe, Shabana ji. So hello and welcome.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And of course, she's the presenter of this wonderful film I just saw, Meer Raksam, which is shot in her father's hometown, Mijwan. And it is one of the most beautiful films I've seen recently. And it gives you a lot of hope in India's young people, in the so-called small towns and villages of India, where I really believe the real change is happening. And I think this movie is able to capture that, especially of the fathers. They sort of are a neglected community, I think, in the portrayal on screen. But progressive fathers are, and the way the movie portrays this progressive father is just so wonderful. But Shabana ji, please tell me more about it.
Well, firstly, I'm really glad that you caught the point about the youth of India, because when you look at the fact that Aditi Subedi, who plays the protagonist, 15-year-old Mariam, in the movie Meer Raksam, she was a girl who my brother Baba Azmi selected after he had auditioned hundreds of girls in Mumbai. And although some were good actors, some were good dancers, he kept feeling that something was amiss. And that was what he called the mitti ki khushboo. And so he took the plunge and said, I'm going to find a real person from Mijwa village. And then he found this girl who had never faced the camera before. She had never done a step of Bharatnatyam, but she was more than willing to take up the challenge. She was brought to Mumbai. She stayed here for 3 months, practicing her Bharatnatyam every day from like 6 to 9 hours. Her feet would, her knees would swell up and become like pillars, and yet she kept at it. Now, for a 15-year-old girl to leave the safety of her tiny little village, Mijwa, and come here and just sort of keep herself open to everything that was happening, is, I think, epitomizes the youth of our country.
Yeah.
Because they are just waiting for an opportunity.
Yeah.
They're full of desire. They're full of talent. They're waiting for an opportunity. Now we can ignore them at our own peril.
Yes.
Because actually they are the biggest strength of our country, because 50% of our population is below the age of 25. Now, can you imagine what a huge resource base that is? And also, if you notice in the film, it is the young who have been able to throw all these obscurantist ideas.
Yes, yeah.
Because Mariam's friend,
Yeah.
her cousin, those boys, all of them are the ones who support her through this journey. And so subliminally you get the message that it's the youth that are going to change things.
And even Aditi, the girl who actually then saves her. We can't give away too much, but who sort of saves the day at the end, by playing the Sufi music. She's so lovely, the boy who dreams big of starting this business of providing dark classes for pets. I mean, these are such lovely little ideas, and it tells you so much about what the potential is.
And also of small town aspiration.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but do you get a sense that there is also a sense of a sense of loss of hope, that people feel that they don't get enough opportunities, that they remain stuck there with, when you see the obscurantism portrayed by the characters of Nasir or the Khala, and you realize that patriarchy is deeply instilled in the minds of women as well. There possibly misogyny is as much among women as it is among men. What gives you, what do you think of people like that?
Well, you have to understand that I think it's very important to show both the Khala and the character of Hashim Seth as being uh, obscurantist, because you have to realize that women are as much victims of patriarchy as men are, and so they get into this position where uh, against their wish, against their desire, against their understanding, in the name of Samaj, अभी बदलाव के लिए तैयार नहीं है. They take steps which are harmful to their own children. So it really, you see, what we have to see is it is for the victim, for the oppressed to stand up
Yeah.
and say we're not going to take it anymore. Never in the world has the have the powerful ever said, "Oh, we are wielding too much power now. We are
Yeah.
going to give it away to the
Yeah.
powerless." Right? So it actually, at one level, is also inciting you to say, "Don't stay uh, okay with the state of affairs that you have. Get up and demand."
Right. Speak up for yourself, because nobody else will do it for you.
Nobody will do it. Nobody will do
Yeah.
it.
Right. But let's talk a little about the character of the father. A wonderfully portrayed character, played with a great sense of depth by Danish as well. How important is it to uh, understand this kind of masculinity and to have more of these examples?
You see, in our society, the kind of toxicity that is associated with masculinity
Yes.
is really troubling, because in the writing of Danish, in the way he is Salim, in the way he is written, in the way he's directed, you are talking about a father as a nurturer, as a father who can be both mother and father
Yeah.
to his daughter, which is a role that many men do not even see for themselves. And so the question that it begs to ask is, why can't masculinity also be about empathy, about sensitivity, about understanding? And in Baba's experience, in my experience, both our father, Kafi Azmi, was that kind of person. He was a nurturer. And I remember many years ago when I had told him that I would like to become an actor and would he support me. He said, Bete, I will support you in whatever choice you make. If tomorrow you decide you want to become a mochi, you want to become a shoemaker, I will support even that, provided you tell yourself you will try to be the best shoemaker in the business. And
Lovely.
I remember how much confidence and how much comfort it gave me. So I think it comes from Baba's memory. Plus, Baba is the same kind of father to his daughter, and so I think it grows from there. And 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 what is very heartening is how many men have appreciated this, let alone women. That's nice.
Right. And, especially in today's industry where movies tend to highlight the toxic aspect of masculinity, the whole idea of stalking the woman so much that she finally gives in, or, this violence, the violent streak that you see portrayed towards women. How important are such progressive fathers, how progressive men, their portrayal on screen? Should we not have more of them?
I think very, very important, because we need to give visibility.
Hmm.
See, how how can the arts function?
Yeah.
How can cinema function? It's not by standing on a pulpit and shouting slogans, because then that would not be true to the art form
Hmm.
that you have chosen to express your thoughts through. So you have to tell it in a way that is true to the medium. So whenever you speak to Baba, he always says, to me, this is a human story about a father's unstinted support for his daughter's desire uh, to become a Bharatanatyam dancer. Now, on the surface, it seems like a simple enough story, but there are so many layers in it. One which I particularly react to a lot, because there's a moment when she's among some लाडीडा people and they say मुसलमान लड़की और भरतनाट्यम
Right.
बहुत पढ़े लिखे होंगे तुम्हारे माँ बाप.
Yeah.
What
Oh,
does your
that is
father
a
do?
lovely, lovely
And
moment.
then the teacher tries to shush her away from that and wants to save the situation, and she turns around with pride and says, दर्जी है
दर्जी है.
मेरे अब्बू.
बहुत ही
I
अच्छा.
can't tell you how much that touches me, because in a feudal society where somebody who does work was looked down upon, you'll be surprised to know that the word kamina comes from काम करने वाला.
अच्छा.
फ्यूडल सोसाइटी में जो काम करता था वो कमतर था. वो चाहे वो पॉटर हो, चाहे वो जो काम करता है फील्ड्स पर, वो चाहे किसी तरह का भी कारीगर हो. Now it was left to the progressive writers movement to wrest the worker from the stranglehold of feudalism and give respect to the worker. So if you look at Kefi's poetry, I mean, it was dedicated to celebrating the worker, to celebrating the woman, to celebrating the farmer, the student, all these people. उनकी जो poem है मकान, आज की रात बहुत गर्म हवा चलती है, आज की रात न फुटपाथ पे नींद आएगी, सब उठो मैं भी उठूं, तुम भी उठो, तुम भी उठो, कोई खिड़की इसी दीवार में खुल जाएगी. And so that to me, in what can be just a moment that passes, such a beautiful statement is being made. And I think that is the strength of the movie, that it's not in your face. The story is at one level and these ideas are coming in an almost seamless manner.
Which is really the power of great art. It moves you and it teaches you and it celebrates change and life. The other part, of course, being the obscurantism of all kinds.
That is so important.
That is very important. Yeah.
You see, because I think in this debate that is taking center stage, where religious fundamentalism all over the world is, raising its head, what we have to say is that it's not about one religion being pitted against the other. It's not about Hinduism, Islam, Christianity, etc. It is about a worldview.
Yeah.
One that asks for all progressive people from all religions to come together on the same side to fight against the obscurantists of all the other religions.
Yeah.
This the film does very, very successfully, because it shows that it's not community specific. We have people like that because religious fundamentalists are mirror images of each other.
Yeah.
And that, I think, in today's day is an extremely important thing to also say.
And the other part that I wanted to again celebrate is when it talks about how Bharatanatyam हमारे तहजीब का एक हिस्सा है, when the father says it,
तो बात क्या कर रहे हैं? बात ये कर रहे हैं कि you need to make a distinction, you have to distinguish between religion and your cultural heritage.
Exactly. Now
the greatest strength of India is her pluralism, her diversity, is her composite culture. And so we have to take that part, her pluralism, as the greatest heritage that she has given us, and not get caught in this quagmire of this is allowed by religion and that is not allowed by religion, because whoever you are, you just cannot afford to ignore or deny your cultural heritage.
Yeah. And also this stereotyping of certain regions.
Yes,
This unpaired Azamgar, as you have, this person talking about it like that, Garibi, Gundagardi ka center, the way way regions, forget people, regions can be stereotyped,
that's
regions
right.
can be stigmatized. So
Absolutely.
again, those are very interesting ideas that the movie celebrates. How long did it take to actually get it off the ground? And really, this was your way of celebrating your father's heritage, I guess.
Yeah. You see, what happened is 2019 was my father's birth centenary
Right.
year. And uh, there were many, many programs held all over the world, almost 100 such celebrations, which in itself is unique because normally a poet doesn't get felicitated in this way.
Hmm.
And I think that's when Baba remembered that Abba had asked him many years ago. You see, Mijwa is the village in which my father was born. And then he left because he was basically from a zamindar family. He left and came away, became a member of the Communist Party, and went back 40 years later to find it was a village frozen in
Right.
time. There was electricity, there was no road, there was no school, there was absolutely nothing. And Kathy just decided that he was going to stay back, in spite of the fact that he had a brain hemorrhage and he had a paralytic stroke that left his left leg and his left arm incapacitated for life. Even then, one man single handedly said that I am going to make this village into a model village, which is going to be both replicable and scalable. That that dedication made him once ask Baba, ke, will it be possible for you to shoot a film in Mijwa? And Baba laughed it off because at that time there was absolutely no infrastructure at all.
Hmm.
But when it came to making the film in his centenary year, he said, I have to.
Hmm.
I have to keep this unmet desire of my father. So for us, it's not just a film, it's many, many things. It's a tribute to our father, to his way of thinking. It is an encouragement of youth. This girl now, Aditi Subedi, suddenly, because the entire film was shot in Mijwa, has become such a role model
Hmm.
for all the girls there and in the surrounding villages because they suddenly feel, oh my God, we can aspire to do something on our own, and our end goal cannot only be marriage. So, this is how transformation happens.
Hmm. But you've done a lot of other work in Mijwan as well. You've worked in the village. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I have to tell you that it was the foundation was laid by my father, and then he ran it, and then he built school and a computer center and a chicken curry center, all that so long ago. And
Okay.
then when he passed away in 2002, then it fell upon me
Oh,
to take it forward. Now, there's been a lot of progress over
right.
there. And Manish Malhotra, the Bollywood designer,
Right.
he gets all his embroidery, his hand embroidery chicken curry done
Right.
by these girls.
Yeah.
So, in fact, 2 years ago in 2017, so we have a fashion show, Mijma fashion show every year in Mumbai, in which the entire film industry has participated. And we bring people from Mijma to see for themselves where their work has reached. And Aditi, who was then, I think, 13, she came, she walked the ramp with Shah Rukh Khan
Oh, wow.
and with Anushka Sharma, and she went up on stage and she says, it is my dream to grow up and become an actress. And 2 years
Oh,
later, she's there.
wow. What a
I mean,
story.
just absolutely. It's a completely parallel story to Mariam's story in the film.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So lovely. So you also had a fashion show in Mijwa, if I'm not mistaken.
Every year we have.
Right.
Every year. For the last 10 years, we've had it every year. And I'm very grateful to the film industry because every single star has walked the ramp
Right.
for us.
Right. So, Shabana ji, I have to, of course, ask you about the current state of the industry as well. We cannot not talk about the state of the industry and society, both of which I think you have very strong views on. But,
Yeah.
you know, the same values that we see in this lovely movie, you see them being trampled almost daily, whether it's in the industry or whether it's in society at large. What are your thoughts on some of these horrific changes that are happening around us?
You know, I am an optimist, like my father was an optimist. And I am able to see things in the long term. And I think if you look at the history of the world, there is a change, that an upheaval that sort of shakes up every 30
Hmm.
years. So it's a cycle. It cannot be that there will be one kind of force that will continue to exist. Neither capitalism, nor communism, nor any of the things that you're looking at. It is a cycle. Now, it is very unfortunate that we are living through this cycle,
Hmm.
but we have to gain courage from the fact that there is resistance being offered. And there's a lot of play of many factors in how much traction the resistance is being given. There's a lot wanting in that.
Right.
But it's not as if people are sitting quiet and not saying anything. I mean, look at the youth. After such a long time, I feel the youth of this country has really gotten up and is asking for its share. And in fact, just about 5 years ago, I was really despairing and I was saying, what is the youth doing? Because all over the world, youth have been the harbingers of change. You know, whether you look at Vietnam or Tiananmen Square or Tahrir Square or anything. So that is happening. A churning is taking place where you are forced to take a position. Now, I think there is a difference between taking a position uh, without it being in the eyes of the public glare. Everything cannot be determined only by what is in the public glare. Unfortunately, all of us have far more opinion than we have information. That's the bane of our country.
Yeah.
And so we get carried away with all this shouting and all this screaming. The fact is that the real issues facing this country, the real issues of the farmers, of the students, of roti, kapra, or makan, they need to be met with resolve, not just by words. When that can't happen or that is not happening, then you do your best
Hmm.
to create an atmosphere where people can get riled up at the drop of a hat, because you are not able to really meet the demands of the society. And that's the same thing that is happening.
Right. Because I often feel that the entire justice for Sushant Singh Rajput, while it is an honorable movement in some senses, is also a distraction. It's a gigantic distraction.
See, justice must be done. Of that, there are no two opinions. All we are cautioning is that do not reach a conclusion before law actually takes its course. ऐसा तो नहीं कि जिंदगी भर इसका कोई नतीजा ही नहीं निकलेगा. नतीजा निकलेगा ना. और
Right.
सच क्या है, दूध का दूध और पानी का पानी हो जाएगा. So why, except for the sake of sensationalism, are you getting so invested? And why should I fall into your game? I I have faith in the law of this land. And I think that the poor girl who's being vilified is going to get justice.
Yeah, in fact, I wanted to come to that point. You know, sometimes you look around and you think misogyny has not changed. I mean, for so many years, we've seen this ugliness. Now it's just out there in the most brutal form possible. The vilification of Riya Chakrabarti is quite a terrible sight to behold.
But you know, she's been upholding herself with dignity.
Yes.
She has been, I mean, she's obviously at breaking point, but look at the way she's conducting herself. And to my mind, that can only come from somebody who knows the truth and believes in the law of the land and in justice.
Yeah. Just the last question related to it, and then I want to ask about some of the great work you're doing as well, apart from the movie that you presented. I wanted to ask, what do you feel about this whole debate about nepotism, in which your family, of course, has also been dragged in? Who hasn't? You've all been targeted, and social media can be quite vicious. The attacks are quite vicious. What is your position on this whole debate, if you can call it?
See, firstly, I say that, people in the film industry are very, very easy sitting ducks. And it's very easy to throw stones at them because you might be a completely insignificant person and suddenly you're bringing attention to yourself by making these claims. Having said that, I feel that we get so much love, so much respect, the people from the film industry. So then you have to be prepared that you're also going to be criticized. It can't be कि अच्छा अच्छा मेरा और बुरा जो है आपका. If you are open to scrutiny, as you will be because you're a member of the film industry, you should say that yes, it's hurtful, it is painful, but people have the right to dissent, right? It is when it seems so clearly inspired by an agenda that then becomes difficult to accept. But the point is about nepotism, only the film industry being accused of it. Why not doctors? Why not lawyers? Why not industrialists? Why not everybody? See, I grew up, it was a natural course of events that I grew up in a household where my mother was strapping me on her back when I was just 4 months old and taking me to Prithvi theatres for the rehearsals.
Wow.
And then my father was taking my brother and me to Mushairas. When my mother was on tour, we couldn't afford a maid because up to the age of 9, we were living in a commune of the Communist Party.
Right.
So Abba would take us for the Mushairas. Now, what are the chances that we will move away from it completely and become a scientist? Little, right? So, when a doctor has a practice and has got a child who's done medicine, it is only natural that the father will say, "All right, I'm giving this to my uh, children," but whether they stay in the long run or not depends only on their own talent. So yes, you'll get a foothold, but after that, what? And then what about Aditi? What is her background? What is, if in this debate you look at what Baba Azmi has done, why has he chosen to make a first film in which he only went according to the demands of the character? That's also happening. No? What about Rajkumar Rao? What about Nawazuddin Siddiqui? What about all these wonderful actors that you're seeing that are also doing extremely well? That's on the basis of talent. The fact is that luck plays a very, very big part in the film industry. Plays a very big part. That I agree. But finally, if you aren't good at your job, you can be anybody's child. But so there is a son of Raj Kapoor who's very successful, and a son of Raj Kapoor who absolutely doesn't get accepted. So then justice takes its own course.
Shabana, I wanted to ask you about your 46 year long career. It's quite amazing. You've done it all. You've done stage, you've done television, you've done international films, you've done so-called parallel films, commercial films. Amar Akbar Anthony. I mean, who would have thought you would be in Amar Akbar Anthony, such a beloved film? And you've done virtually whatever. What do you think about streaming? You've, apart from the one that you're just acting in Mughals, I believe. I've seen you in a couple of international shows like Next of Kin. where I thought you had a very powerful role as the sort of matriarch of this family who has a terrorist accused among them. A very beautifully done series. Uh, what is this part of your career like?
You see, I saw the writing on the wall many, many years ago. I remember almost about 10 or 15 years ago, I worked in a film called Waterborne, which was from the word go only to be released on Google.
Okay.
And I went to LA to do the film. And a lot of my friends said, "Are you crazy?" Because it was really made almost at no budget with almost students who had just come out. And they said, "What are you wasting your time over there?" And I said, "Listen, if you're not going to grasp what is being offered to you in terms of the future, then you're going to regret it." And I did it then. Now, I think streaming for a certain kind of film is very, very, very important because it's the only platform that
Hmm.
you get. And see, it's different from the mainstream film. The success of a mainstream film only depends on the opening week and how it does in the beginning. With things that are streaming, it's word of mouth that really, so you can start slow. But I look at my own pattern of behavior. The only thing I see is if I've heard ये बहुत अच्छा है, तो अगर मैं ऐसा कर रही हूँ तो बाकी भी ऐसे ही
Exactly.
करेंगे. और उसकी रीच जो है ना बहुत कमाल की है. अब देखो, मी रक्सम रिलीज हुई तो I have so many friends and so many family members all over the world who are so excited, and they said, "My God, we are going to be able to see it at the same time
Hmm.
as you." Otherwise, then piecemeal distribution होता है, कब वो film release हो सकती है, etc. Which is not to say at all that this can take away watching a movie in the theaters, because the magic of that is going to remain.
Hmm.
What streaming has done and OTT has done is to bring into focus the fact that content is king, that it's not the star, it is the content. And that is the biggest takeaway we can get, because ultimately, particularly on television, it's really the content, it's the writer who's the hero of that. Because if the writer can keep your interest through many seasons, only then you're going to carry on with it.
And it's also opened a lot more doors for people of across ages. I mean, you can at 70 you can do lead roles. You're playing Baba's sister,
Margaret
or
Parangonsky.
right, and
Parangonsky.
you're in Halo as well, where I think you have a very significant role. You were in 24. How are
And
these
now playing Ehsan Daulat in Mughals.
in Mughals? Exciting.
Very
How is this how is Mughals shaping up?
well. It's very early.
Yeah.
It's very, very early days, but I find Ehsan Daulat extremely interesting because she was a educated woman. She was a feisty woman. She is the one who was responsible for putting Babur on the throne when he was only 14. And she was the person who guided him and had a slightly dodgy bit to her personality also, which
That's always
which I
fun.
find which I find very interesting. Yes, I find very interesting.
Yeah, playing someone naughty is always more exciting, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes,
What's the
yes,
point of being perfect? So,
that's right.
what are the kinds of roles that get you out of the house now? I mean, it has to be something really remarkable, I suppose, no?
Yeah, 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 definitely. Because see, at the moment, I think what is very nice is a lot of short films are being done, and I have done short films, and we've completed a short film called Sheer Korma, which is directed by Faraz Ansari, and it's got Divya Datta and Swara Bhaskar in it along with me. It's ready to be shown now. So it's interesting, but I am interested in short films if it's people who are struggling to make films are making it, or if young people are doing it. If the big guys decide to do a short film only because they think they can make it for very cheap sums of money, I'm not interested in getting exploited.
Yeah.
That I'm not interested in, because I really think that when you have all these streaming platforms have the kind of money that they do, and they make big, then they have to make a contribution towards that particular medium. And we have so many talented people just waiting for that one break. Started with a short film.
Do you feel the industry is going through a change that will make it something completely different? Is there a churning, a burning down of everything, and there'll be something new that will come out of it? Or will it be business as usual when we're all back
No,
shooting?
no, but see, the churning in the industry started happening a long time ago. It was under the able guidance of Sushma Swaraj, leadership, not guidance, of Sushma Swaraj, that the film industry finally got recognition as an industry. And that changed things in terms of the money that was now available from banks, in terms of how it actually became an industry. With corporatization coming in, with all this, it has changed that template completely. Otherwise, we were dependent on money coming in installments, and it was perfectly possible that you shot a scene today and left it half half scene done, and then again resume shooting 2 years later. So
Hmm.
there have been completely hysterical cases where I was working with Shashi Kapoor in a film. It was called Ooch Neech Beach, and it took forever to be made. And so then there was a scene in which Shashi Kapoor leaves his house to go jogging, and when he reaches his destination, he's become 14 kilos heavier. I said, all the joggers of the world will be up in arms against you. At least try to redo the first shot. So I mean, this kind of madness used to go. All that is changing. So that churning is happening. But now I I do hope and I do think that there is conversation happening, there is a churning happening, and it will all happen for the best. लेकिन इस तरह की मड स्लिंगिंग, इस तरह की कॉन्स्टेंटली आप उसको गालियां दें, आप उसको इतने नाम करें, तो यू आर डिगिंग योर ओन ग्रेव, बिकॉज पीपल गेट टायर्ड ऑफ हियरिंग द सेम थिंग. भाई सब्सटैंशिएट व्हाट यू आर सेइंग ना. कुछ भी आप किसी को भी कुछ भी बोल दो, कैसे चलेगा? So I think that
कंगना की बात कर रहे हैं? आप कंगना की बात कर रहे हैं?
You know, why should I even have to answer that question? Why? I am talking about the targeting that is being done, not by one person, it's being picked up by several people, because we are too lazy to get information before we have an opinion. We're just too lazy to do that. And that vilification is going on happening. Anybody who applies their mind will say, let's wait now. देख लेंगे. Let's wait. Why do we have to be उर्दू में क्या बोलते हैं कि आप ही मुंसिफ और आप ही whatever that word is, I can't remember. That way.
I wonder what, when I leave you with this last thought, I wonder what Kefi Azmi would say about the India of today, about the industry, and about the society of today. Is there something that you would like to share with us about what he would say?
Well, Kefi's message to the world was, प्यार का जश्न नई तरह मनाना होगा. प्यार का जश्न नई तरह मनाना होगा. गम किसी दिल में से ही गम को मिटाना होगा. That was his message to the world. And once he said something very, very significant to me, which has become my mantra. He said, Beti, when you're working for change, you have to build into that expectation the possibility that change might not occur within your lifetime. But you have to have the conviction that if you carry on working sincerely and with passion, then change will come, even if it does so after you are gone. So there is a long-term perspective within which you are here to to participate in this much of the journey and then give the baton forward. That's what you have to do, because change and transformation is takes a lot of time. But if I can tell myself that I have participated in it rather than just sit and make statements, then I feel that I have been a worthy daughter of Cafe Asma.
Sometimes I think that all the wonderful movies that you did, you were part of that movement, which actually has now got women center stage to a point where they're leading, their own stories. They're at the center of their own stories. Do you sometimes feel the contribution that you and people like Smita Patil made uh, to this point, to women coming to this point in the industry, is not
Sorry.
recognized?
No, I didn't get
you
your
know
question.
the contribution that people like you and Smita Patil made to women coming to this point where they can tell their own stories, be at the forefront of their stories. Do you feel that it's recognized enough?
Oh yes.
It is.
Oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And the fact that we got who we are is due to that, because that has held us in good stead for 40 years in my case. And I think that what is happening in the process is that uh, girls themselves, female actors, are recognizing that there is worth in looking for roles that substantiate you as an actor
Yeah.
rather than just a star. And so people are willing to make immense sacrifices to be able to do that, which is why women oriented films are now becoming a plausible uh, commercial consideration, even.
Thank you so much, Ivanaji. It was a wonderful experience talking to you, and all the very best for me, Raksam, and for all the work that you continue to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Lots of love.